On Vanguard Life, I am Precious Chukudi. We begin with the front pages of the papers, starting off with Vanguard. Vanguard is leading with Tinubu to NEC. No excuse for failure. The writer says the NEC considers payment of 703 billion naira to workers as palliative for subsidy removal. Malls legislative financial support for vehicle manufacturers to approach World Bank for loan. Daily fuel consumption drops from 66 million to 41 million. We can also see a photo story showing the National Economic Council inauguration. And on page 33, presidential poll, over 18,088 results, INEC uploaded blood, and that's coming from OBI'S Witness. Tribunal, Tinubu kicks as court admits the INEC exhibit containing his biodata. On page 9, federal government appoints FBI Academy alumnus Chukol as AG EFCC chairman. Subsidy, oil marketers plan petrol imports as CBN floods Naira. You can see that on page 9. Stories above. Inflation hit 18 years high at 22.4% to surpass 23% this month. EFCC CBN chief Abakoba asked Tinubu to remove INEC chair. TUC to federal government, watch out for forex speculators. You can see that on page 8. 7.9 billion naira fraud. Court holds the trial of ex-minister Odua over threat to judge. And lastly, on the front page of Vanguard newspaper, we have Nollywood actor Don Brimo Uchebu slums, dies on location in Port Harcourt. All right, let's take a look at the Nation newspaper. The Nation is leading with workers to receive cost of living petrol allowances. Federal government state proposes palliative to cushion effect of petrol subsidy withdrawal. Abdusalami Akonde Yakasai Tinubu on track, and they say president's decision board says Sanusi. Sanwo-Olu Buratai, others pay tribute to Abibatu Mogaji. Stories above. Ribadu Edun Uwajumogu Alake among 8 presidential advisors. OBLP tender 18,088 blood result sheet. Rising basic cost of living pushes inflation to 22.41% high. And that's all we can take on the Nation. Let's take a look at the Guardian newspaper. The Guardian is leading with costly rent, burial plots, no resting place for the poor, even in death. You can see that on page 4 and 5. And we can see a photo story showing the average, that's an infograph more like showing the average cost for a plot of land in Lagos. Posers over ministerial list as Tinubu unveils henchmen in batches. On page 46, page 16 rather, PMS marketers needs $1.8 billion monthly for imports as stakeholders move to resolve gray areas. And also we can see on page 27, Economic Council meets on NLC's 702 billion naira recommendation for salary adjustments. Manufacturers lose 10.1 trillion naira to poor electricity supply. Let's have a look at the Punch newspaper. The Punch is leading with the main story. APC bigwigs jostle for ministerial slots. Tinubu names 8 essays. The writer says party chieftain Favor Kiyamo, Omar Agege, Fayemi, Adeyeye, Ganduje, Marafa, others. Edun appointed essay on monetary affairs. Alake gets communication. Ribadu handles security. We can see a photo story showing the new advisors. EFCC summons Sirika, quizzes Nigeria Air officials. Probe begins as OAU student dies of suspected suicide. Boat tragedy. Federal government vows prosecution of operators. Stories above. Naira weakens to 702 per dollar. CBN fresh FX supply likely. Tinubu economic advisor proposed a custom NIMASA FIRS merger. Fuel subsidy. NEC molds 702 billion naira as workers allowance. All right, that's all we can take on the front pages of the papers. Join us after the break. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. If you're just joining us still today in the news on Vanguard Life, I am Precious Chukudi. And joining me this morning is Dr. Tayo Bataru, is the Associate Professor, Department of Mass Communication, Unit Jos. Good morning, sir. It's good to have you join me this morning.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure being here.
All All right, let's talk about some of the stories on the front pages this morning. Let's start off with Tinubu to NEC, and the president has told the National Economic Council that he will not tolerate excuse for failure, and this is just as the council said it would consider 702 billion naira recommendation by the National Home Salary and Wages Commission to workers to cushion the effect of fuel subsidy removal. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, it's a good thing that the president has started well, as even his critics are beginning to agree that he has started well. And one thing that is clear is that a lot of Nigerians are hopeful that some of the measures he's introducing are bound to result in positive developments within the economy. So if he has told the National Executive Council, Economic Council, that he's not going to take excuse, I think that is good, because it shows that it means business, and we hope that the committee will rise to the occasion and ensure that they do things that will make the economy to pick up. No excuses, as he has said, because Nigerians are tired of excuses. They want their life transformed, and that is what we expect from this new government. It's also good that they are thinking of palliative and other measures to cushion the effect of the subsidy removal, because it is really biting, and a lot of people are really facing a tough time. But they are hopeful that by the time those measures are introduced, things will get better, and it will cushion the effect of the subsidy removal. Things are going to be a little bit tough for now, and we're just hopeful that eventually the whole sacrifice will be worth the while. Well, if they put in measures that will transform the economy of the country, because that ultimately is what we should work towards. If the economy is transformed, then we are hopeful that things will get better ultimately, and Nigerians can at least begin to enjoy some of the benefits of the measures that have been introduced. So I think the government is starting well. We hope that let's then do the talk, as they say, so that we'll see results for the measures that are introducing, and not just another maybe rigmarole or just talk. So we're hopeful that things will get better, and one also hopes that they will not delay with the palliatives that they are planning, so that people can begin to be helped to live and cope with the negative effects of the removal of oil subsidy.
All right, it's one thing for the government to basically say they want to, roll out funds for to cushion the effect of fuel subsidy removal. It's another thing to also checkmate, the palliative they're trying to roll out to, curb, corruption, because we understand that whenever things like this occur, there is always a chance for people to, some officials to siphon some of this money to their own personal pockets. And what systems do you think that the government should be looking at in checkmating this? Because of course, one of the talks the Nigerians have been talking about is that, yes, fuel subsidy is gone, but there were no palliatives to cushion the effect. And if the government say, yes, this is what we have on ground, how are they going to checkmate this system?
Well, the Nigerian factor will always be there, but I want to urge the president to put people of integrity, not people who will go there and see it as an opportunity to enrich themselves. That has been the bane of most policies in Nigeria. Policies are introduced, and people just take it as an avenue to enrich themselves. And at the end of the day, the palliatives or the benefits of the measures don't really get to the people, because some people have just stood there to block the flow of those good palliatives to the people. So I am hopeful that this president, and it's an appeal that I'm making, that the president will do something to ensure that the benefits of whatever measures are introduced really gets to the people. I know that for salary earners, it may reach them directly, because if their salaries are increased, they will reap the benefit. But we have the larger percentage of Nigerians who are not government workers, and so how do we ensure that whatever measures are introduced will get to them? This is a task that the President Tinubu should take seriously, to ensure that it puts people who are not going to frustrate the essence of the measures that are going to be introduced, so that it really gets to the people. And it's also a good thing that the National Executive Council is made up of state governors. We hope that they will take it as a responsibility to also work with their people, protect the interests of their people, so that the benefits of the whatever measures are introduced actually gets to the people. But this is a serious problem, and I hope that the president, with his experience, will take measures to ensure that those loopholes that people exploit to enrich themselves and frustrate government policies for the people will be avoided this time around.
Mm-hmm. All right. According to reports, our daily fuel consumption has dropped from 66 million liters a day to 40 million liters a day. Now, what are the implications, particularly for the poorest of the poor?
Well, the drop is going to, for me, from my reading of the situation, the drop in the consumption level is going to even drop further, because let's not forget that there has been claims that a lot of the fuel that we claim to be consuming in Nigeria was actually going to our neighboring countries. So if by reason of the removal of the subsidy, the smuggling of the fuel is no longer profitable, then we are bound to see a further fall in the consumption. But it also says a lot about the fact that a lot of people are now abandoning their vehicles and finding alternatives on how to move. A lot of people too have also cut down on their movements. I know the people who now don't just go on frivolous trips again. They would rather leave their cars and go by public transport or something like that. So people are bound to adjust. Nigerians are adjusting. And one thing that we must give to Nigerians is that we have the capacity to adjust to situations that come. So I believe that a lot of people will find alternative ways or means of moving around rather than using their vehicles because of the high cost of fuel. So this might have contributed to the drop in the volume of fuel consumption in the country.
All right. Of course, inflation rate is now at 17 years high of 22.41% in May, and this is coming from the previous month. What we had was in 2.22%, and analysts are also saying that they see a further acceleration in June, owing to the recent naira devaluation and also fuel subsidy. What can you say about this?
Yes, definitely. The figure that we have for May is high as it is still going to worsen, because the removal of fuel subsidy, the collapse of the foreign exchange market, and so on and so forth, is going to shoot up. At least initially, it's going to shoot up prices. It's going to heighten inflation the more, and so we may be reaching up to 23, 24, or even 25% in the next few months, because prices that are going to rise as a result of the increase in transportation fare and some other things. So it is likely to worsen. But like I said, things might have to get worse for it to get better. If by the time these policies stabilize over the months, we may begin to find a kind of equilibrium that will make things begin to go down. So it will heighten initially, but eventually, when the policies take root, they may begin to drop. And so that is why it is essential that the effect of these policies should be cushioned for the people, because things are already tough, and it can only get worse, at least in the short term.
All right, moving on. A professor of mathematics, Eric Ofedo, has actually testified to the before the Presidential Election Petition Court in the case of Peter Obi, where he mentioned and said that over 18,000 results sheets from INEC, the INEC uploaded to the IREV were blurred. What are your thoughts on this? And is this not a dent to INEC itself?
Yeah. If they say the results were blurred, is it an insinuation that maybe they were deliberately blurred so that they would not be clear and be legible for people to be able to see it? There have been allegations that are before the panel. And what they need to do is to prove whatever they have so that the judges will now take a decision. Allegations about elections have been flying up and down, and evidence is what is required now for people to be able to convince the judges that they have a good case. If they're able to convince the courts, if the courts see reason in what they are presented, of course, the courts will take, the judges will take appropriate decisions concerning the matter. But going forward, we should try to make our elections less problematic, less credible. We try to make it more credible, so that we will not be having this kind of complaints after every election. INEC should up its game so that we will have less problems concerning our elections, and we can only wait for the judges to make up their minds and take a decision concerning the evidence being adduced by the various parties.
Mm-hmm. Former president of the Nigerian Bar Association, Dr. Olisa Agbakuba, has also asked that the president should remove INEC chairman, Professor Mahmood. Otherwise, the electoral reform tax in Nigeria would be impeded. What do you think about this?
Well, he is entitled to his opinion, but there are those who will also view the issue differently, especially given that we have cases pending at the tribunal, which will require the man coming to give evidence. If you remove him at this time, how will he be in position to be able to come and give evidence for the cases that are pending? So I think whatever we think he might have done wrong, it will be ill time to remove him at this time, given that there are pending cases that might require him coming to give evidence. So I think the president will take a decision at the appropriate time, but we should allow the cases to be dispensed with before we call for his removal, because I think it will still be needed to give evidence for some of the cases that are pending before the tribunal.
All right, so let's take a look at Mr. and Mrs. And Mr. is speaking. He says, the theme of the health workshop is to get rid of germs in our homes and live a healthy life. And Mrs. says, did they discuss about the germs men carry around, the ones in mini skirts?
So the mini skaters are they germs? Well.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Tayo Battery, Associate Professor, Department of Mass Community Just. Thank you for sharing your thought with us this morning.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
Also, remember that you can equally like, share, and subscribe on all our social media platforms showing on your screen. To find out today's stories, go to our website, www.vanguardngr.com, to find out more. I am Precious.